Do you feel like the quality of...
That's it. End of the episode.
Do you feel like the quality of service Diamond provides would keep you from trying a legitimate competitor if one were to spring up?
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep bringing comics. Keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers. And now, here are Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
Dal, it's really hard to get in the mindset of a new recording, a new episode of Contest of Challengers.
Why's that?
Well, you immediately derailed my enthusiasm with that Marvel announcement.
I did. I did mention a new comic book.
Why don't you elaborate?
It's a new 5-issue weekly miniseries coming out this October called Contagion. And it's a bunch of street-level heroes like Iron Fist and Moon Knight and The Thing.
And I'd said street level, and you said...
It's very hard for The Thing to climb stairs, so he has to work street level.
I understand.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a 5-issue weekly miniseries from Marvel that will be largely ignored.
I would like to ignore it if that's a possibility.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about it. Good for Ed Brisson, who's writing it, I guess. Yeah, the lineup of characters and artists and the fact that it's a 5-issue weekly miniseries is all very clear indications of, like, oh, Marvel expects nothing from this. So, it's coming out. There you go.
Yeah, I expect nothing from it as well.
I'm sure you have an itinerary for this podcast, but did you hear the other publishing announcement from today?
No, I heard one from a few days ago, which I believe I was going to tell you about.
Okay.
That is very grand and it's designed for future publication.
Yes. Tom Scioli is doing a Fantastic Four grand design. I've mentioned it to a couple people who are picking up X-Men grand design this week, and they basically all told me I was only getting this because of Ed Piskor.
Right, but there's
I don't know.
There's a whole level of Tom Scioli fans that...
I hope so.
Yeah, I don't think FF Grand Design will sell as well as X-Men Grand Design, but I still think it's a good idea,
yeah, sure.
And I like it.
Yeah, I like that it's become a thing that alternative creators who have a fondness for these stories they grew up with can kind of put that into an art form.
Also, I mean, if you're going to have somebody redo the first... let's assume 300 issues of Fantastic Four, especially in a Kirby-esque style.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's Tom Scioli.
Yeah, it's Scioli.
And also, Tom Scioli and Ed Piskor are best friends. So, I feel like you should just buy it if you're an Ed Piskor fan anyway.
I'm very excited for the one that comes out after Scioli's, which will probably be Jim Rugg's Daredevil grand design.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
I was wondering what
really
Jim
excited
Rugg would
about,
get to do.
Really excited about that weird black metal costume.
I think that Daredevil's a good choice for Jim Rugg.
Come on, Street Angel.
Yep.
No, there was a different announcement from a completely separate publisher, DC Comic Books, announced for one
I've heard of them.
DC Comic Books imprints, DC Black Label,
so far, pardon me for jumping in,
Go ahead.
and this is the weekend before the San Diego Comic-Con.
Correct. It is TFCon Toronto weekend.
Oh, I see.
On your convention
Oh,
calendar.
goodness. I appreciate you taking time away from your, I assume, live streaming of the show floor.
All of the news is going to drop on Saturday. It's fine.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, that's when the third-party panel happens, and the third-party panel slides are posted to TFW 2005. Anyway, yes, this is the week before the San Diego Comic-Con, which means publishers have to shovel out a ton of news.
So they don't get lost in the mix of all the Russo brothers panels and things like that.
Yeah. No, so DC Comic Books for DC Black Label announced 2 books being written by...
Wait. I turned the AC off. How is it on?
I don't know.
I literally turned it off.
I don't know.
Don't make that announcement.
I'm going to wait.
It even says off. Boy, you have a $7 million recording studio, and you think that the switches would work.
Maybe if we hadn't cut costs right when it came to HVAC at the end. It's like you already put $7 million in. Do you want to spend another $1,000 on getting a working HVAC?
Speaking
In retrospect, yes, we should have.
Speaking of,
Uh-huh.
you were at the store today?
I did. I swung by the store. It had not been fixed yet. The HVAC was still not working.
Okay.
Although it was cooler in the store because it was cooler out today.
Sure.
I told Kent to text me if and when it was fixed. He had said the repair guy had come in probably before he had gotten there. And I don't know how he knew that, so there must have been some communication at some point.
Well, I received an email. I don't know if you did as well.
Yeah, he was out of Freon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is what I assumed was the issue for us, but I'm not
Probably.
a repairman.
Yeah, but I was there at 2 o'clock maybe, and
Okay.
between 2 and 3, he was not. The repair person had not come back yet.
Well, I would think that he would need access to the store to be able to, turn things on, turn things off, or whatever.
Maybe.
So, I don't know. Yeah, that's very interesting. What was the temperature when you were there?
I didn't look at the thermostat, but it was tolerable.
Okay. Because as you well know, but I'm saying this for our listener, our one listener,
Yes.
it got up to 90 degrees in the store on Wednesday.
It did.
90 degrees.
A new record.
While the air conditioner was on the whole time, just not putting out cold air.
Pumping out air that was not cooled by anything.
So if we could run a lot of tubing from the recording studio to the store, would that...
I'm willing for you to try it.
Huh, okay. Good enough. Hey, DC Comical Books.
DC Comic Books, for their DC Black Label imprint, announced 2 books from the same writer.
Okay, hold on. Let me make some guesses. Now, they've recently announced a Harleen book,
Uh-huh.
and they recently announced a Joker and Harley book,
Uh-huh. And we just finished up Batman Damned.
and we just finished up Batman Damned. So, is one of them 3 Jokers?
No.
That's so dumb. I assume they're both Joker books.
Incorrect.
I assume they're both Harley Quinn and Joker books.
Incorrect.
I feel like I'm right, though.
Well, I would say this. You're half right. One of them is a Joker book.
Uh-huh.
It's called Joker Killer Smile. It is by Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino,
Oh,
which immediately makes me, as a not Joker fan,
oh
go,
goodness.
yes,
Yeah,
please.
I'm... Wow.
Yeah, first issue launches October 30th. The write-up on ICV2 has it as, in Joker Killer Smile, the Joker turns his madness towards the doctor treating him at Arkham Asylum, setting off a chain reaction that threatens the man's very soul and his family, as well as Gotham City itself.
I guess that doctor's not Dr. Harleen Quinzel.
Probably not. So that's going to be like the main talking point for a lot of people in this, because that's the one that has the most sales potential, because the second one is for a very small section of fans in their late 40s to mid 50s.
Is it Sweet Tooth?
No.
Okay. I had more, but go on.
It is a separate DC Comics property.
Uh-huh.
It is called The Question, The Deaths of Vic Sage,
Oh.
a 4-issue miniseries from Jeff Lemire and artists Dennis Cowan and Bill Sienkiewicz.
What?
Set over multiple time periods, including the
What?
Old West, lawless 1930s,
Oh.
and the early days of Hub City. The Question, The Deaths of Vic Sage tells the story of an unsolved mystery that has led to the demise of the Question. The answers to the problem are just out of reach and may lead to the doom of the Question yet again. The Question, The Deaths of Vic Sage will launch on November 20th.
I mean, I'm on board,
Right.
but you lost me at the Old West.
I'm sure it's not going to be, an entire issue set in the Old West. I think it's going to be a thing where this mystery encompasses
No, you don't understand, Dal.
50 years.
The Question isn't a person. It's a birthright handed down through generations. So we're going to get to meet the Wild West Question,
Finally.
the 1950s Question,
The Immortal Question.
and obviously it goes to the far future, to
Sure.
King Question.
Yeah.
Is Renee Montoya listed as being in this book?
No, I don't think it's intended to be a Renee Montoya book. Like, it seems like it's Denny O'Neil classic Question is what Jeff Lemire wants to deal with. I mean,
Interesting.
art by Dennis Cowan and Bill Sienkiewicz.
Sure.
Like,
Sure.
I think it's the biggest statement you can make on what that book is and who it's for.
I will tell the story again because I'm sure there's plenty of people who've never heard it.
Sure.
But when I was in college and it was summer, and I guess it was between junior and senior year, maybe? That sounds right. I was a framer as one of my 2 summer jobs.
Sure. You frame people for crimes.
Sure, yeah.
Like, you would plant evidence and like call the police on them. Sure.
Why do you think so many comic stores are closing?
Oof.
Back in the game.
Good work.
And there was a woman I worked with who I was trying to get interested in comics. And the comics I gave her to read included Animal Man number 5, the Coyote Gospel issue.
Sure.
Another one I don't remember, but the last one was an issue of either Green Arrow or The Question. I forget which one. Honestly, I think it was The Question, but Green Arrow was in it as well. And it was basically a discussion between Vic Sage and Oliver Queen about the Zen reasoning behind them wearing masks. And while they were, I don't know, taking down a drug ring or doing something, the story wasn't about that. I'm pretty sure it was a question, because I remember the art being Cowan and Sienkiewicz, and this is definitely a Denny O'Neil type of story.
Sure.
But it was all about the differences in why they wear masks and what the masks represent. And I thought that was an amazing discussion for a superhero book. And after this woman, whose name was Vicky, gave them back, and I said, "What did you think?" And she said, "They were what I expected." And right then and there I thought, oh, you didn't read these. There is no way you read either of those books and think, oh yeah, that's what I expected from superhero comics.
I was definitely thinking there would be a superhero comic where Wile E. Coyote was treated as like an endlessly martyred god. Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Duh.
Wile E. Coyote was the the man with like the fable, not fable. What is the allegory of mankind? And the Roadrunner was I feel God.
Okay.
And constantly chasing after a god and dying horribly as a result. Anyway, what she expected. Those books were what she expected. So there you go. But anyway, that question book sounds very, very good.
Yeah, certainly not as much sales potential as, say, a Joker series. But I think it's cool they're doing both of them.
Yeah.
On the one hand, there's a part of it's like, Jesus Christ, another Joker series. But then I very quickly have to go, you can sell those forever. People will buy Joker books forever. DC is definitely testing the idea that you can't oversaturate that market, but I don't think they have yet.
So with a little bit of marketing match, too, going on, Gideon Falls, for sure.
Oh, God, yeah.
But also some sort of Bat contingent in there?
Batman Damned, probably.
Okay.
But we'll see. I think it's largely going to be like Gideon Falls, and then Batman fans will see it when it comes out, or have heard about it because it's a Joker book and will want it off of that. I don't know if the people who are currently buying stuff like Last Night on Earth or Batman Damned will immediately go, this sounds like a really good Joker book. I think it's the thing they'll have to see.
They'll need to hear about first. Sure.
Yeah, like it'll have to have buzz behind it, or they'll have to have it in hand. Like I think we'll be able to hand sell it pretty easily because I think it's going to look gorgeous.
Well, automatically, aside from you and I being excited for it, we know at least one person who'll buy both of those books.
Yes. Jeff Lemire's mom.
All right, now, before we get into the questions that we have, because we have questions to answer.
It's a question episode.
My question, and this is a legitimate question to publishers, but also other retailers. Marvel has announced the second printing of Absolute Carnage #1.
You know what they announced today?
Third print?
Second print for House of X and Powers of 10 #1. Those books come out in 2 weeks.
Right. Those make a little bit more sense.
Because they've gone to press?
Yes. The thing with Absolute Carnage #1 second print is that we haven't given our final orders for Absolute Carnage #1 first print.
Yeah, they haven't locked those numbers and they could just add on to it.
So
you can't sell out of a book you haven't started printing yet.
My question to retailers is, do you automatically order that second print before knowing what you do with the regular #1? For example, Silver Surfer Black #1 is a book that we got excited for and we got behind and we ordered a ton of.
Yeah, and especially because I think Marvel had done a deep discount offer on it that we easily qualified for because we were so excited for it.
Right, but we qualified for it because we're Treadmore fans and we were excited for the series.
But that led to us adding even more on because it's like, well, Jesus Christ, they cost us a lot less. We might as well take an even more aggressive position on it.
But the point is we still have it and we still have plenty.
Yeah, we'd intended to have it for the run of the series, hopefully.
And then they announced a second print of number 1, which we did not order because we have plenty of the first print.
Yeah, and I think the second print had a cover by not Tradd Moore. Which,
Right.
even for the first issue, there was an open order variant for someone else's cover art, and I'm thinking, the whole point of this book is Tradd Moore's art. Why would I want to sell a copy that doesn't have Tradd Moore's art on the front? Who would buy that?
There's also a Comics Pro variant that we didn't get for the same answer.
Okay.
But we legitimately had people that wanted the second printing because it was a new printing.
Right. It was a different cover.
It was a thing they didn't have.
And that's the thing that we'd heard from, I think, Marvel and other retailers before, which is that for a large segment of the market, a second printing is not something a store gets because they have unfilled demand on the first print or because they want more copies in stock for readers who missed out. It's because it's a new cover, and you can sell, if you got 15 people that are buying every cover, you can sell 15 copies of a second print, no matter how many copies of the first print you still have. So why wouldn't you order at least 15 copies of the second print? You don't, quote-unquote, need it, but you can absolutely sell it.
So obviously the print run for a second printing is going to be significantly lower.
Right.
But what is the incentive of calling it a second print versus calling it another cover? Because Marvel is famous for adding new covers up to FOC.
Yeah.
And just coming out with oh, by the way, here's an unannounced Ryan Stegman cover.
Right.
Something like that. What's the difference?
That's a good point. I don't know. That it seems like it's kind of half a dozen, 1/6 of the other, but they must be seeing something internally that says that
people are less likely to buy.
An eighth cover of a first print is going to get ordered less than a first cover of a second print.
But even though, if you look at the percentages, there's probably less of that eighth cover printed than of the second print.
Probably.
But then again, if Walking Dead has shown us anything, it's that it doesn't matter the number of copies of print. It matters the interest in it.
Sure.
And at the same time, the same week of Walking Dead 193, we completely overlooked all of the speculator interest for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 95.
Yeah, which there wasn't a ton of speculator stuff. We had one person, I think.
We had two people ask for it on Friday, and a couple other people call.
Because in the special order book, there's only one person who was down for it, and at that point, it was already sold out.
Yep.
So that person's not going to get a copy. Yeah, I didn't. I think it's an interesting story development for a book I don't read, and Sophie Campbell had her hand in it, so that automatically makes it worth paying attention to for me, as she's one of my favorite artists.
What was her involvement in it? Because I thought
She designed the character.
Okay.
She had some stuff where she posted on Twitter, once they announced the character, she's like, hey, I can show you this stuff. It had been 2 years in the making of designing the character and working it out. So she basically co-created the character with Tom Waltz, I think, who's the writer.
Yeah.
But Turtle stuff is weird in that, do you remember, was it 4 years ago? 3 or 4 years ago? Donatello?
Oh, it wasn't that long ago, but they killed Donatello.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was around issue 50, because they're on 95 now.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that suddenly everybody cared about. And it's well, first of all, he's definitely coming back. And he definitely did. Second of all, it's the comic series. This isn't going to be reflected in, the larger medium.
Right.
It's not like he's dead in every iteration of the Turtles now. And third, he's coming back. He's definitely coming back.
Well, Turtles
what?
is very similar to us as Walking Dead was, as we sell 1, maybe 2 off the shelf when you take subscribers away.
Yeah.
And the number of people that were looking for this book, it's you're not reading the story. What do you care? And also, this is not the first female turtle.
Right. Well, it's the first female turtle, I think, in the comics.
Okay, but as you just pointed out...
You're right.
And also...
Have we all forgotten Venus de Milo?
Venus de Milo in the cartoon series, I think, reached a lot more fans than... What's this one's name?
I can't remember. Starts with a J.
Okay.
I read a little bit about it. Basically, she was a longtime character in the book who recently, her origin is basically She-Hulk. She got critically injured. The Turtles treated her. She needed a blood transfusion. The only blood that was around was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle blood. So now she was formerly a person who is now a turtle. And I cannot remember her name. It's not. I don't think it's like a famous
it is not
artist
a
or
Renaissance
something.
painter or anything like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Although I kind of wish it had been, and maybe it is, and I just don't know who it is, because I was kind of curious when I'd heard like, oh, there's a female turtle now. Like, well, people were rightly upset about the idea of all of the turtle names are like famous painters and sculptors, and then the female turtle is like a piece of artwork. Like, they're not like an actual person.
Oh, so you're saying this one should have been called Mona Lisa?
Right, exactly. But yeah, they sidestepped it by she didn't need a new Italian artist name because she had a regular human being name from being a regular human being. The Turtles thing is like the Walking Dead thing where I just get frustrated because it's people who don't care about the story. Because you could just read the story, you could find out what happens. And they're not going to read what follows up. They're not interested in the character as a character where they want to see her journey and see how she got there. They just want the hot book.
Right.
And that, no, nails on a chalkboard to me.
Okay, moving on. We have a question from Robert Anderson, and it was inspired by our restock photo from Wednesday. And
the graphic novel restock?
Yes.
Okay.
And I like when things that we post cause discussion,
Sure.
and I'll step back and say that our episode from last week about our June sales numbers has gotten several different retailers to get a hold of us and talk about their experiences and how similar they are.
Yeah, I think more than anything, I do want to get to the question, but I do want to talk briefly on last episode and the response to it. My hope with doing those episodes where we don't, like, the numbers we use are largely percentages and that sort of thing to talk about relative sales and relative changes rather than a specific dollar amount. But the hope in doing that is to sort of normalize the idea of talking about the good and the bad about the retail community. Too often, the only stuff we see people talking about is when they're doing great, and everyone you talk to at a convention is doing great, and it's like, I know you can't be, because the market, the overall market, shows that everyone is not doing great. You can see how Diamond is doing as like sell through to stores and the ups and downs of year-to-year changes, that if everybody was doing great, those numbers would be going up every month forever. They're not, so clearly people are massaging the truth a little bit when they talk to each other. So I would like to be able to normalize the idea of, you can talk about when things aren't going great to not only let other retailers know that it is okay if things aren't going great, because maybe they'll be good again soon, and maybe if we're all not doing great, we can figure out a way to kind of affect the market a little bit more to make things better. But also just to kind of get the discussion going, to say, yeah, it's okay to say things aren't going great. It doesn't have to be everything's going great all the time forever.
Not in the context of our podcast, because we're never like that. We're always here's all the things that are terrible.
I don't think that's true. I
all
think
right,
we're negative frequently, but
that's not for either of us to decide.
Exclusively, I don't feel like it's true.
Okay. But also to let other retailers know that, hey, if this is happening to you, you're not alone, and maybe us explaining it on our end makes sense to you, and maybe a larger discussion can be had.
Sure, and for me, it's never a thing of like, here's how we're going to fix it, and here's how all of you are going to fix it too. Like, I don't feel that confident in my problem-solving abilities to suggest to other people, oh, definitely do this will fix your problem. Like, I don't feel that way. If what works for us may not work for someone else, and what works for someone else may not work for us.
Yeah, but at the same time, maybe there's something that does work for somebody that will think, oh, will work for us.
Sure, maybe.
Okay, so, from Robert Anderson. Which comic or comics sold best after a TV adaptation debuted? There's more. Does Netflix sell better than cable? Umbrella Academy vs. Preacher? Is Walking Dead king of the non-DC Marvel sales spike? And I'm going to answer that last one first.
Yeah.
They're not king of the non-DC Marvel sales spike. They're king of the episodic television sales spike. I mean, that TV show got a ton of people in looking for that book.
That's for sure, yeah.
Nobody's come in who watches Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. looking for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. comics.
Yeah, the Marvel stuff, I don't think any of it's... I can't think of a single Marvel TV show that has had like a huge impact on the graphic novels. Even Jessica Jones, which was one of the most well-regarded of the Marvel TV shows, we did not sell a ton of those graphic novels. We sold a few more for sure.
Yes, there was definitely people that were interested in it because of the show.
Yeah, but it was not a thing where
but not a needle-moving number.
We didn't have trouble keeping it in stock. It wasn't that kind of sales success. Preacher, a little bit. Not a ton. I don't think the Preacher show is that highly rated as far as like the amount of people who watch it. So as a result, I think the percentage of them that want to buy graphic novels, while maybe similar to stuff like Umbrella Academy or another show, the number you're starting with is not high. So the percentage is going to be a small number of a small number. But Preacher does okay. We sold more Preacher graphic novels for sure. The streaming shows, I think it maybe does a little better on than like weekly TV shows for sure. Not counting Walking Dead. Walking Dead's like an outlier.
Sure.
Talking about Walking Dead in terms of like how comics and graphic novels that TV shows are based on sell is like talking about how Image Comics sell by using Saga as an example. Like
it's an unfair.
It's so high above everything else that it might as well be in a completely different conversation. Umbrella Academy, I think, is doing really well. That was when we had a ton of trouble keeping in stock, and it seems like nationwide it was a problem.
Yeah, I mean, we would have sold a lot better if we had been able to get them from anywhere.
Yeah, not only were we selling out, but multiple distributors were selling out for weeks at a time. I think we've caught up to it now, and that's maybe one of the problems with streaming stuff is that it spikes very fast, but there's no longevity to it. I don't know that people are going to necessarily be discovering Umbrella Academy Season 1 in the next 2 months or whatever. Like, the people who are going to watch it probably watched it already.
The way Diamond was telling us, hey, Stranger Things Season 3 debuts, make sure you're all set with product for what?
Yeah.
The people that no one's coming in because of Stranger Things Season 3 and saying, did they ever make a comic?
That is untrue, as a matter of fact. I fielded 2 different conversations about that in the last 4 days. No one bought anything. And we had stuff in stock. That's not true. The second person ended up buying a copy of the first issue of the current Stranger Things miniseries.
6.
Yes.
From everyone's favorite character from the TV show. 6.
Yeah, it's about 11's mom. So it's tied into what's going on in the series. It's a little bit of that character's origin.
Is it written by an executive producer or a showrunner or
I think it's still
a gaffer or a best boy?
I think it's still Jodie Hauser. She did the first miniseries that was set during season 1, and so I think she's maybe just who Dark Horse works with for Stranger Things comics.
I want Jodie Hauser to be given a project that she either creates or brings to. I feel like she's often saddled with, hey, do you want this book? Hey, do you want Strike Force?
That's Vita Ayala.
That was an example.
Oh, okay. But you're right. She is given a lot of thankless writing tasks at Marvel and DC.
So I'm sorry. What was the answer to which comic sold best after TV adaptation debuted?
Oh man,
Umbrella Academy.
Is it Umbrella Academy? I'm trying to think of anything else. There's a lot of TV shows and stuff. I don't watch a lot.
Let's
of them,
say what
so
it's not. Remember. Iron Fist, Luke Cage.
Yeah, the Netflix stuff for sure.
Arrow.
Yeah,
The Flash.
The DC
Supergirl.
CW stuff. I'm curious if we'll see anything with Batwoman when that kicks off in the fall.
Smallville.
Deadly Class. Deadly Class did pretty well. For a TV show that didn't even make it to a second season.
Yeah, I don't know if pretty well is what I would say, but
I was doing the reorders, and it seemed like I was reordering it pretty much every week when that series was on the air, which was a little bit faster than we were selling it previously.
There was an instance where somebody had asked about it, and I talked about how the show, I only saw the first episode, but it was very faithful to the source material. But then about how much I didn't really care for the source material.
Sure.
And what I didn't like about the book, because I read that book way longer than you did.
Uh-huh.
Which I guess would be after issue 3.
After issue 1.
Oh, but you read 2.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you hated it so much, you said you wanted to...
I mean, the first one I hated.
No, it was issue number 2 was the one that you said you wanted to get on a space shuttle, fly to the sun, just so you could throw that book into it.
Okay, that's fair.
Specifically because of the dialogue between everybody introducing themselves.
Oh, was the second one the one where they actually get to the school?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, then yeah, it was the second one.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Everybody was just like a cliche and a stereotype. So sick of it.
So, after I go through all that, they then buy every Deadly Class trade. Like, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well.
There's plenty of books like that where I have no interest in it, but yeah, man, we'll stock them. We'll spotlight them if we think there's sales potential in them.
Sure.
I may not hand sell them, but if I think someone will like it, because I know people who do, if I can see in their personality or their other comic book interests a similarity to someone I know who likes Deadly Class, I will probably recommend it to them.
Well, I'm going to change my answer to a week or 2 weeks in the future and say The Boys.
Maybe.
No, I'm saying it already happened because I'm 2 weeks in the future.
Oh, good job.
Also, you don't want to know what happens to air conditioning in 2 weeks.
Oh,
no. Okay, now,
no.
if you're finished,
I think so.
if you have your topics out of the way,
Yes, I think the only thing I brought to the table was that Jeff Lemire thing.
well, that spurred a lot of good conversation, though. So that's
Cool.
good. So we got an email from someone, and first I want to step back and say that a few weeks ago I offered any creators or publishers a free re-edit of their solicitation copy.
Yeah.
And
Just giving it away.
I was taken up on that, and I did. We were approached, and I did do a couple, and it's always interesting when that happens because, like when we get a retailer email saying, "Hey, here's what my June sales were like." It's less of a vacuum that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, people actually do find value in this.
That's cool.
And there are things that we can...
I never take that into the recording studio.
Of course.
Like, it's not like I have to actively ignore it. It's mostly that as soon as it happens, it's like, cool, great, and then I completely forget about it.
Well, we were sent an email from somebody who wants to interview us for a web series they're doing, and I don't know if it's obviously it's not video. But anyway, they sent us 39 questions they wanted us to answer for this interview. And first of all, I thought, there is no way I'm typing out 39 answers.
Once again, just giving it away.
I did just do a last Friday and Saturday. I answered a bunch of questions for David Harper for a piece he's doing on Sketch.com. And I did that at the store while I was working. So there's a lot of stopping and starting because you're talking to people, you're ringing people up. So there's a lot of broken train of thought. But also
just goofing off. Got it.
Also, being asked 39 questions, I think, is a lot.
For someone that I don't think we've spoken to before, to just say, like, here's 39 questions I'd like answered, it's like, well, it's nice to want things.
So we're going to answer them verbally, and
probably pretty quickly.
I will let that person know that these are available if they would like to transcribe them.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be the one typing this all up. So, number one, which is the first comic you ever bought? I'm sorry, what is the first comic you ever bought? That's to you?
Oh, to me? The first comic the first comic I think I ever got was I was given a gift subscription to the Ewoks comic as a child. Like single-digit child.
That explains so much.
And, I mean, I didn't pick it.
Were you a Star Wars fan already?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I didn't pick it. It was picked for me.
Excuse me.
Oh, Jesus.
Is that a thing you need to respond to?
No, it was actually a text from Kent at the store letting us know that the AC guy is still working on it. He came in 30 minutes ago, and he went to go look at stuff on the roof, and then he didn't come back.
That's what happened last week.
Pretty much. So I don't hold out a ton of hope that it's going to be fixed by 7 o'clock tonight.
But at least, I mean, my greatest fear, not greatest fear, my biggest fear in this, it's not my greatest fear, but a big fear was it'd be one of those rare moments where it's blowing out cold air, so he'd show up and be like, it's fine.
Right.
Even though it was 90 degrees yesterday.
Yeah, well, we'll see if it gets fixed before we go out of business. I think the first comic I remember...
What you mean by that is a long period of time away from now,
Yes.
not we go out of business because of an air conditioning.
It's not a cause and effect thing. It's just at the end point in time is when the store goes out of business. So I'd like it to be fixed before then. After then doesn't do me any good.
You're right.
First comic I think I remember buying was an Amazing Spider-Man comic. I cannot remember the issue number right now, but it was black costume Spidey, probably a few issues after he gets the black costume. The cover is Spider-Man in a black costume crouched on top of the Hobgoblin's van that's being dredged out of the river. And behind him in the shadows is a villain that turns out to be Jack-O-Lantern. It's a Rick Leonardi drawn issue.
I remember it, yeah.
And black costume Rick Leonardi Spider-Man is like my definitive in my brain when I think of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Which was always super weird to then find out, like, oh, he's supposed to be like red and blue, and oh, Rick Leonardi was like a fill-in guy who did like 2 issues. Like, Ron Frenz was the guy who's actually drawing the book then.
But that's why you connected so well with Spidey 2099.
I mean, probably subconsciously, yeah. Rick Leonardi is my Spider-Man artist because he's the first guy I found drawing that way.
Yeah, I mean, mine was Ross Andrews, so that makes sense.
What was the first comic you ever bought, Patrick?
Well, I have no idea, because my older brother was buying comics before I was around, or before I recall. But there's 5 comics I remember fondly from being a youth, although the time frame doesn't match up for these books, so it can't necessarily have been at the same time. But anyway, there would be Marvel Triple Action number 22, which is actually a reprint of Avengers number 28, where it's the first Goliath. Fantastic Four 182, where the Brute had impersonated Reed Richards and trapped the real Reed, Ben, and Johnny in the negative zone, and Sue had to fight him on her own back in the Baxter building. I bought that in a hotel gift shop in Bermuda when I was in 3rd grade.
Nice.
Eternals number 15, which is my dad bought it for me when I was sick one weekend, and it was Kirby, and it was the Hulk. Well, you thought it was the Hulk fighting Icarus on the cover.
Oh, you should have saved that. It could have been valuable now.
I still have it.
Okay, you should dig it out. It could be valuable now.
Captain America 193, where Kirby comes back to Captain America, the Mad Bomb saga.
Nice.
Avengers 148, where...
There's so many books.
I said 5. I said it was 5.
Okay, 5th
This
book.
is number 4.
Okay, 4th book.
Where they fight the Serpent Society. And what artifact is heavily involved in that book?
The Serpent Crown.
The Serpent Crown. And lastly, Action Comics 463, where Superman is punched from 1976 back to 1776. And Clark Kent is stuck in colonial times.
So many bicentennial comics.
And, what was the other one?
I mean, wasn't the Kirby stuff, like, wasn't that around?
No, you're thinking of his bicentennial battles that
Oh, okay.
Kirby did.
Was I? Okay.
Yeah.
I
Kirby
think
did
of
a
the-
lot of Cap.
I think of the Mad Bomb as being part of that story,
Oh,
but I guess
I see.
not.
I see. So those 5 have early memory fondness for me, but I couldn't say if any of them were the first or the earliest. The Marvel Triple Action I bought on a road trip. We used to drive to the East Coast every summer,
Oh, okay.
and I remember getting that on the way somewhere. Number 2 out of 39. What the one comic book that would be the crown jewel in your collection, the comic equivalent of the Holy Grail for you? I'm going to answer for you. You don't have those?
I don't collect comics.
You did. You don't have them anymore, though. Mine would be Amazing Fantasy 15,
Okay.
because I have that.
Yeah, I think for me, like, the stuff I was only really collecting were Legion of Superheroes and New Teen Titans for a while. And, I mean, the 2 things from each of those where I'm like, God damn, like, this is going to be expensive for me to get, and I did get, and I was really happy when I got them, were the 2 Superboy Crisis issues for Legion of Superheroes, the Baxter era run, because those were the most expensive issues for that run. They were each like $15 or $20, and for me at the time, that was a lot of money to spend on one comic book. And then New Teen Titans number 2, first appearance of Deathstroke, because even back before Deathstroke was in a bunch of TVs and movies and stuff, that was a very expensive first appearance.
Was
for
that
me as a
also the
kid.
first appearance of Ravager? Or was that number 1?
I can't remember. I think both of them first appear. Ravager's on the cover. Deathstroke, I think, is like maybe in shadows or something.
Yeah, okay. I will confess that I did not actively read all these questions before I printed this out and thought, oh, we'll do this during the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I just glanced ahead.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're getting through this.
We can always do some and then do some other time.
I don't know that you'll want to.
Okay.
What is currently your favorite comic on the market and why?
Kaiju Max, it's really good.
It's the and why that makes it like an essay question from school.
Kaiju Max, it's really good.
Same answer. I'll take Kaiju. Mine was Killer Be Killed, but it ended. When did you first start working at a comic shop? Oh, for you that'd be 1991.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
Because I was the one that hired you, so I feel confident answering that. And my brother filled in a couple of weekends at a shop when I was still in high school, and I would tag along with him. But I first started, I believe, August 26th or 27th, 1990. So that means in a month I will be at my 29th comic retail anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I started, I've told the story a million times. I graduated with an art degree, and I was going to be a freelance artist, and I took 2 weeks off after I graduated, because I graduated in the summer semester.
Mm-hmm.
I took 2 weeks off before I started looking for a job, because I knew I needed a part-time job to give me money while I searched for clients, build a portfolio, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
And in that time, I was offered a job at a comic store that immediately became full-time, and then within a week, I was given my own store. And not like mine from the ground up, but a store that needed a manager.
To manage, yes.
Yeah. And moved on from there. How did you come to own your own shop, and what do you wish you'd known beforehand?
Poor decisions, and probably you shouldn't do it. We've told this story probably a million times across a lot of different formats. The short version is Patrick and I had worked together at another chain. I had ended up leaving and was working a night job, and a few months into that night job, I contacted Patrick to say, hey, have you ever thought about opening your own store? And he laughed hysterically because it was a stupid idea and a great way to lose money. And I said, well,
all true, by the way.
I had this idea about kind of what a different way of doing a shop would be like, and how it would maybe better or more like fulfilling maybe than the way we were doing it working for other people. And after a few weeks of conversation, we decided it was something we wanted to pursue, and then did all the boring businessy legwork stuff of incorporating and securing loans and finding a location and opening a store. It was basically about 6 months from initial discussion to doors are open.
You know, we're coming up to the 10th anniversary of this podcast, and I just had an idea of how to celebrate it.
Mm-hmm.
A quiz. A quiz with questions that we've answered throughout these episodes. Not that...
Like a quiz that we run, or a quiz that we participate in?
A quiz that we run.
Oh, okay.
For example, and I'll one of the questions could be, what was the other name for Challengers that we never... That was the second name that we never...
Mm-hmm. That I'm still saving.
That you... Yeah. I mean, I have my store name as well, which
know.
I'm never telling you.
That's fine.
And it's so good that I wish we would have used it for now. Anyway, it's I'll tell you right now, it's not Dallinger's.
No, that's my backup if the name I want to use is unavailable for some reason.
Anyway, I think the quiz might be fun if we and I think about questions.
Sure.
Have there been any particular trends in the comic book market that you found especially exciting and or troubling since opening your shop? The collecting aspect, which we talked all about last week, is the troubling part.
That's the troubling one. It's really seen a resurgence in the last few years, and I'm not a fan of it.
But the exciting ones are the dearth of all ages and younger readers and YA material.
Like there's way more of it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
How it's a focal point and how that's a...
Yeah, it's definitely expanded. There was a dearth of it for sure when we opened. It was very like, there's these younger readers' books.
Did I use dearth wrong?
Yeah, dearth means not a lot.
Oh, whoops.
Now there's a plethora of those books.
Wait, so why is he called Darth Vader?
Because he lacks Vader.
Oh.
Yeah. You'll find out in episode 9. Yeah, the explosion of YA and younger readers' material is, it's a godsend for us. Like, I don't know where our business would be if there was not all this good stuff coming out for readers 15 and under.
Have you always focused on comics exclusively, or do you find it necessary to stock toys, games, etc. as well? We are a comic shop, first and foremost, and comics and graphic novels are the majority of what we do. We do carry a little bit of action figures. We do carry... we just got our poster restock now, but we have one poster rack, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's not even a rolled poster rack. It's a
we've got
a dump.
Up and down with how much non-comics material we carry. Comics have always been the majority, but how big a majority has shifted through the years. I think we're currently at a balance that we really like as far as how much toys, posters, T-shirts, pins, non-comics and graphic novel material we carry.
Would you be interested in diversifying your inventory, or do you think your store has successfully developed a personality that needs preserving?
The second one, I guess?
Yeah, I feel like this is just the same question, but in a different format.
I mean, that's diversifying is always a weird word to use in these sort of questionnaires, because I'm not sure if they mean diversifying like other kinds of comic books, or if they mean diversifying like other non-comics material.
Like sports cards.
Right. Like
versus Golden Age back issues.
Yeah, or zines or something. Like, I'm happy with our mix of comics, and I'm happy with our mix of comics to non-comics.
How much of a factor do you think the personality or atmosphere of a shop plays in establishing a customer base? I think it's very important. I don't think it is completely necessary. I don't think that's the main reason people shop at a store, but I think it's the main reason people stay at a store.
Yeah, I think you and I, and maybe you'll disagree with this, I think have slightly different views on kind of the place for personality in the store. I am far more comfortable letting the store speak for itself and designing it and maintaining it in a way where people's interaction with the store can be the entirety of it and hopefully leave happy. I think you in particular very much like the idea of having an interaction with people and having that be something that is the capper on the experience.
Well, we need a reason for people to come to our store versus coming to a store.
Well, that's the thing. Like, what I'm saying is I feel like my goal is to make the store itself what people are excited about. Not the product necessarily, but how the store operates, how you find things, the cleanliness, the spacing,
if people thought we were great human beings, but we only carried garbage or never had what they were looking for, they wouldn't shop with us. But I think that our personality is a bonus.
I guess
people sure shop at bad stores because they're close. And we say that having been told that, we're not judging other stores, although we're always judging other stores.
Yeah, you could make a chart of, or maybe just a list of the things that are important to people about a comic shop. And for most people, especially in a city like Chicago, I think proximity has got to be near the top, if not the top for most people.
Yeah, location is definitely a key.
Yeah, as long as they've got the Batman and X-Men comics that you're probably reading, if they're close by, you don't care if you don't like those guys personally or you think the story is maybe kind of gross.
However, we just got a very thoughtful Yelp review where they went out of their way to talk about the things that we do that they like, but it was a 4-star review. It wasn't a 5-star review because of the lack of personality.
Yeah, we're paraphrasing a little bit. If you go to our Yelp page, you can probably see the specifics. But in general, I want to say the person was saying, and they mentioned that they didn't think we were mean or rude. It's just that they were looking for something where we were engaging them a little bit more directly. And after I saw that, I said to you, I think it's a super fair review. Like, I don't have any problem with it. It obviously would be nice if it were 5-star instead of a 4-star, but this person's experience sounds like a 4-star experience. And some of that is, I feel like it's pushy if you're trying to be very
egregious,
grandiose. Like if
Darth?
Darth.
No, Darth. This time I meant Darth. Like,
the performative aspects of the retail and retailer experience are things that I don't enjoy doing or observing. I don't like how some stores will do the, hey, welcome to the store. Hey, everybody, this is so-and-so's first experience, and this is, I'm going to be your best friend and the concierge and the ringmaster of your experience. I'm like, man, if I went in a store like that, I would probably be there for about 4 seconds before I'm like, oh, is that the time? Outside I have to go and never come back. I don't like that sort of stuff. I want to kind of dictate as a customer the level of interaction, and I do that as a retailer where, I'll mention like, oh, this is a good book, or oh, hey, have you seen Spider-Man? Conversation stuff, and you can kind of tell from people's response.
The movie or the actual Spider-Man? Because he was at the store this week.
Yeah, it's true.
He was in the store on Tuesday.
Threat and Menace. when you do those kind of icebreaker things, you can kind of tell how much people want to respond. And I don't really want to, kind of grill people or constantly be giving them things where I need their response or whatever to make me feel like they feel like they're welcome in the store. I just want to kind of be available if people want that. If they don't, I'm fine not forcing it.
There's a point where some people who shop at the store expect more of an interaction, and it becomes a chore, and it becomes a hassle.
Uh-huh.
And our name is Challengers Comics and Conversation, but when you're demanding conversation,
sure,
it really becomes shallow and hollow, and not an enjoyable experience.
Sure.
Certainly for us,
right.
And I imagine at that point you can tell
probably
that it's not enjoyable.
Yeah.
And there's a level of, hey, how's your day going? What's up? Going on? Blah blah, whatever. And if you have time for some anecdotes or quick stories, fine. I did in the middle of a transaction this week while I was ringing up a club member. Another club member was leaving, and I had something else to say to them, so I just walked away from the register as I'd started ringing that person up, and you had to finish.
Uh-huh.
But that's because the engagement wasn't officially over.
Sure.
And yeah.
Honestly, I think some of that's the other part of this problem that this person might have had is that I find it much more easy to have
a surface level?
Well, I was going to say a continuing relationship with a customer if they're a subscriber. Because I know their name, I've talked to them a lot, I know what kind of books they read. The evolution of that relationship is much more organic because they're coming in on a regular basis and I know what they read and all that stuff. If you're someone who is a regular customer but not a subscriber, I'm probably not going to do as well with keeping up with, your life or your name or
just more importantly your buying patterns. Yeah.
Yeah, all of that stuff is way more easy for me to maintain if you're a subscriber. So since this was someone who's not, unfortunately it's probably going to be a less of a friendly experience. Friendly is the wrong word, but less of that sort of camaraderie, I think, maybe, than that person was expecting.
And I very diciously said, if this person has been in that many times and we haven't bonded or connected with them, maybe there's a reason.
I don't think it was that, but that's maybe an option too.
Sure. How active of a role does your shop take in social events like release parties, movie outings, etc.? Less now than ever before.
Sure.
But we're still active. We've got a major signing tomorrow.
Yeah.
That'll already have happened by the time you're listening to this.
Yeah. Short answer is if people supported them, we would do more of them. If and when they don't support them, we do less of them.
Like movie outings.
Yep.
Do you do in-store events with local comic creators or ones doing a book promotion tour?
Yes, all the time.
What do you feel has to be done for those events to be worth it to you?
People have to show up.
People have to show up and hopefully buy the product.
That's it.
Do you believe these type of events create new readers?
No.
New readers to comics? No. New readers to an individual title? Possibly.
Yeah, maybe. And that's only for local creators. Like, if it's someone who's not local, the audience that shows up for that is largely people who are already an audience for that creator.
Have the comic book summer movie blockbusters and free comic book day been a boon to your store?
Yes.
I feel like those are two separate questions.
But both yes.
Okay. What advice do you have for publishers, writers, artists, and distributors you think would create more sales? That is not a one-question question.
Short answer, make better books that people respond to, which, as always, if they could be doing that, they'd be doing it already.
Long answer, listen to every episode of this podcast we've ever recorded. Do you do things to try to cultivate local comic talent?
No.
Cultivate? No.
Like, we'll carry local artist books, but I'm not running, like...
Publicize or help promote? Absolutely.
Yeah, but we don't run, like, art workshops. We don't do, like, the sketch blog anymore. Like, that stuff... That is a little beyond our purview as a comic shop. Like, we can try to do that stuff, but I don't think it amplifies those creators as much as people might think. There's way better resources for burgeoning creators than your local comic shop trying to stump for them.
When a new customer comes into the store with little experience in comics or having left comics for a decade, what do you to cultivate, what do you do to cultivate their interest in comics in general, and your store in particular? Well, first of all, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
we're not doing one or the other. By doing one, you're doing the other.
Right.
And what we do is we engage with them. We
Yeah.
talk to them about what they like, and then
Try and find a good book for them.
steer them towards things we
Yeah.
think they'll like. And if they like them, that makes them like this. If they like the books that we recommend, that makes them like the store more.
Yeah. I mean, the someone comes into your store for the first time thing is basically the retail equivalent of you're on a first date with somebody. It's best foot forward. It's try and find a way to connect with them. It's be memorable for them. It's, spotlight all the things that are positive about you. And then hopefully, if you've done your job right, you've connected with them in a way where they want a second date. That's kind of it.
I like that you use that as an analogy because that's how I described this episode to you ahead of time, by calling this like that list of questions you would download for those social experiments when you're on a first date, and you go through all those questions, and then you stare at the other person without blinking, without looking away.
Sure.
We're not doing that part.
Okay, good.
When people walk away from buying comics, what do you usually hear as their complaint for leaving the hobby? Nothing. They don't tell us. They don't say, hey, I'm quitting comics, thanks for everything.
Yeah, when people quit the subscription service, I would say 85% of the time it's, I am leaving town.
Yeah.
You are not local to me anymore. 15% of the time it's financial, and the financial is, I can't afford to do this anymore because having a kid, got married, lost my job, whatever. If it's like discontent with the market or the comics, you'll see a reduction in people's buying, but they don't quit altogether. I've never seen anyone quit altogether because comics as a medium doesn't work for them. At least people who follow stuff regularly. Like if someone's dipping their toe in and they're like, oh, I don't buy comics anymore. Well, you barely did to start with. But the people who were, buying on a regular, if not monthly basis, I've never had them tell me they're quitting comic books.
What are your thoughts as a business and as a fan on digital comics? Great.
As a business, I don't care. As a fan, I don't read them, but I understand people who do.
Did you look at that Rachel Bard comic, on you?
Yeah, it was really good. Rachel
Yeah.
Bard's a talented creator.
It was from 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, real good stuff.
Yeah,
But
it's interesting to see her working in more long
a
form.
long form thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because she's done larger books, but they're all anthology stuff.
Yep. Anything that gets people into comics, it's great.
Yeah.
I don't know that it affects our business at all, and I'm glad that people have a creative output and somewhere to put their work on the
Sure.
internet. I don't read a ton of digital comics, and I include web comics in that.
Oh, I read some of those, but I'm glad they exist. I like the medium wherever it lands itself, whether that's print or digital.
Can you tell us your opinion on Diamond Comics distributors? Hold on. In regards to their exclusive deals with some of the bigger publishers, is it a monopoly?
No.
Legally, no.
I don't think it's even realistically a monopoly. This is a much larger question, but I will try and keep a very brief answer so we can finish this podcast before the heat death of the universe. The short version of this is that it's not like other distributors were bending over backwards to carry single comics. The financial realities of distributing $3.99 comic books depends very heavily on a company like Diamond Comics having enough warehouses, enough logistical infrastructure to make that financially viable.
I was going to use the word infrastructure.
So while once upon a time, maybe, and you can make arguments about what was happening in the days of Diamond and Capital City, nowadays, if it weren't for Diamond, periodical comics as you know them would probably not exist. So the exclusive stuff, that's just a cost of doing business thing. I don't fault Diamond or the publishers for making those deals if it helps either one of them stay in business. Diamond isn't much of a monopoly because you can get graphic novels from a lot of places. I don't think there's any such thing as Diamond exclusive graphic novels. To wit, there's a bunch of publishers that publish graphic novels that Diamond either doesn't stock or doesn't keep in stock. So oftentimes you're better off going through a legit book distributor if you're stocking graphic novels than trying to get them through Diamond. Yeah, if people were mad about exclusivity and Diamond, I think that fight was fought a long time ago and Diamond won.
Dal, who was your favorite local Capital City employee?
I don't remember any of them.
Ah, it was Byron.
Oh, Byron was the best! I don't remember Byron.
Capital City. This is Byron.
I hope he's listening to this.
I don't know if I wanted to be like, hey, that was me, or, ugh, that's terrible.
Uh-huh.
That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of...
That's it. End of the episode. Do you feel like the quality of... That's it. End of the episode.
Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like the quality of... That's terrible. Do you feel like Do you feel like the quality of service Diamond provides would keep you from trying a legitimate competitor if one were to spring up?
No. I would love to see how a legitimate competitor would actually, like, if you had $1 billion, I think you would still be hard-pressed to directly compete with the way that Diamond is doing things.
With the rise in Kickstarter comic projects, do you look for comics for the store on Kickstarter?
No.
No. We used to. It was always a mistake.
Yeah.
We don't do it anymore.
Every time we did it, we ended up getting stuck with copies and losing money on the deal.
When customers say they can get something for a better deal on Amazon, how do you react? Well,
Okay.
they're not wrong.
Yeah, go ahead.
We wish they would value the interaction they get from the store to make it worth buying from us, but...
You think I'm going to try and compete on price with the richest man in the world? You think I'm going to compete on price with Jeff Bezos? No. No.
Do you do many online sales via eBay or other sites? No.
Not really. We offer stuff of ours online, but people don't usually buy it.
What do you think about CGC and other professional grading companies? Are they a benefit or detriment to the hobby? They're fine. They don't interact with what we do. That's not...
Yeah, we don't deal in vintage books. We don't deal in collectibles, so it's irrelevant to us.
What do you think the drastic overhauls like DC's New 52s... Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know why I said what. Do you think drastic overhauls like DC's New 52 are fundamental for the Big Two to stay relevant?
Yes. I think they should do it more often. I'm serious.
How well does small press and local comics sell at your store? Well, we have a large area for small press and local books, and they do not sell very well.
No,
We like having them. There's a lot of great material in there.
Rachel Bard sells great for us.
It takes... I'm disappointed by how Chomplers and A Great Beast and...
Chomplers is great.
Holy
shit, Chomplers is great.
I agreed. But they're not flying off the shelves like we thought they would.
No, it's true. I wonder if it's a thing where maybe we'll have to wait till a little deeper in summer when we're getting more touristy sort of folks in, or maybe closer to the shopping season. Rachel Bard stuff is usually a pretty easy tip-in for people who are like, I got $10 to spend on someone for comics, and it's like, well, get 3 of these.
Or 2. What do you think of the wait for the trade mentality? I understand it. I don't know that the majority of people that say they're waiting for the trade actually remember to get the trade, because at that point when the trade comes out, they're thinking ahead to the next trades they have to remember to not get.
Yeah. For a lot of people, saying they'll wait for the trade is like saying they'll tip on the app. It's just a polite way of saying, I'm not doing that.
Or, I'll get you when I come out of the store.
Uh-huh.
In the coming years, do you see monthly comics or the trade paperback graphic novel format being the dominant form of comics?
No. Wait, what? I'm sorry, what's the question again?
In the coming years, do you see monthly comics or trade paperbacks being the dominant form of comics?
I've got to pick one?
I think as opposed to, digital.
Oh, yeah, definitely over digital.
Yeah,
But if I had to pick one of those, I don't think either of them is necessarily the dominant one. I think they'll still exist in their same kind of equilibrium that they have now.
Yeah, I don't think they're going away, if that's what the question was supposed to be.
No, I don't think either one's going away.
What extra content do readers look for in deluxe edition collections that actually make them buy a book for the second time?
Nothing. It's never been articulated to me that there's one specific thing people are looking for. Usually if it's a deluxe package, it just needs to feel like it's worth the money. So it needs to have stuff in it, but I don't know if there's a particular thing.
Do you buy high-end stock,
Nope.
example, hardcover deluxe editions and statues, on speculation for your store?
Nope.
Or only by special order? Special order.
Yeah, we don't carry stuff like omnibuses, and if you see a statue in our store, it's mostly because someone burned us on it.
Does your store exhibit at any comic conventions? Do you think having a presence there is crucial to bringing in new customers? No, we don't. We used to. We don't do it anymore. And we certainly don't do it anymore because we think it's bringing people in.
Yeah, I think maybe in the early days of a store's opening, being present at your local comic convention has some value to it. But past a certain point, for us, it was just a money sink. Financially, we couldn't make sense of it anymore.
In 50 years from now, all comics are digital. Do you think there will still be shops where
Okay,
people go to buy the
Nostradamus.
physical relics that we all read today? Yes, just look at record stores.
Yeah, man. It's all going to be digital. Yeah, maybe, but in 50 years, the world itself is going to be very different. I'm not terrifically worried about where the comics art form is in 50 years.
I will not be here in 50 years, so
Yeah, probably me neither.
good luck to all of you.
Yeah, not exactly sweating it.
If you weren't operating a comic book shop, what would you be doing instead? I would be working at a job I didn't care about that paid me more than a living wage and probably comfortable in my middle-agedness.
Yeah, I literally have no idea. I've been doing this since I was 13 years old.
Do you have bargain bins? What are the prices of things in them? Where do books from them come from?
Yes,
All of our back issues are 99 cents. They come from books that did not sell for full price or donations or...
Stuff Patrick digs out of his storage shed that he doesn't want anymore.
What makes your store special to your community that another store transplanted from another city wouldn't have going for it? It's not for us to say what makes us special. It's for the people that shop with us to say what makes us special.
Maybe people could tell us. I don't know.
Certainly our ties to the community would make us something that a transplanted store from another city wouldn't have immediately.
I mean, history is kind of the short answer, but
Yeah.
if there's something more than history, again, that's Patrick and I are the two people least equipped to answer that question. I don't shop, quote unquote, at Challengers. So I don't know what the shopping experience is like at Challengers that would make people feel like it has some benefit beyond a potential new store from farther away.
And I'm going to say wrestling opinions.
We have more of them than ever before, it feels like.
We really do. This weekend alone is so many
Jesus.
wrestling things.
So much wrestlers.
What do you think is your store's all-time bestseller and why? Saga, because more people buy it than anything else.
Saga Volume 1, there you go.
How has owning a store affected your own fandom? Well, I mean, we're still huge fans of comics.
Yeah, I like comics a whole bunch.
Yeah, I think that there's better comics coming out now than ever before.
Yeah, I don't think I've gotten more into comics or less into comics, and less into comics is the route most people who open shops go in.
Yeah, ironically, you're way more into a thing that has no comic component. Kamen Rider.
Oh, sure, yeah, now, yeah. I mean, no American comics component, I know what you mean.
Sure. Would you ever sell the store? Absolutely, 100%.
Sure.
We entertain all serious
Yeah.
offers. Please approach
Let's talk
us.
numbers.
Yes. Anything else? No 38 questions is fine.
Yep. I have said all I need to say.
I feel like anybody that wants to interview us specifically would have questions that are so vastly different than these, but those would be people that would have prior experience of knowing us, I guess,
Maybe.
or our store. I think these are very boilerplate for...
Well, I think this was supposed to be sent out to a bunch of different people.
Yeah.
Like, this was not, this guy had questions for us specifically as two retailers, so much as here are questions for retailers in general. They will be aggregated and turned into a magazine or an article or
Sure.
a post or something.
It's just that were I to be talking to another retailer, which I do frequently, none of these are questions that I would ask.
No.
But I appreciate them wanting to ask us, and I feel like I'm not going to reach out and say, "Hey, we did it. Go to this episode," because I don't think these are the answers you're looking for.
I don't know. I don't think they were bad or wrong. They were maybe brief, but they weren't bad or wrong.
Sure. I don't know. By the way, Bad or Wrong Comics was the answer to the second name for the store.
I knew it.
No, that's not right. We're not going to tell you the answer. We're just going to ask you questions in about 2 months' time. Thanks for listening.
And keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.